Hey friends, it's Laura. Are there some tricky products in your stash that you're having a hard time finding a use for? Let's dive into some product play and see how we can get them used.
Today's product play is acetate. So acetate is pretty common in the scrappy world. It's used for a lot of different things. You have embellishments like these 3D butterflies from Jen Hadfield. There are 2 layers of acetate overlapped with some foam in the middle to make them stand out and be 3D. Then you have these Heidi Swapp titles. So these are some of the things they say, but they're just a really thin piece of acetate with some color running through the center. Let me just pull out one to show you. So we have Delight. Okay. And then we have full-on ephemera packs like this one from Felicity Jane that has a whole bunch of different colors and shapes, and each one is completely see-through except of course where there is color. In the larger pieces, they do sell these huge 12 by 12 pieces of acetate, and this one is actually the cover of a Vicki Boutin Foundation mixed media paper pad, but it has this really cool mixed media look to it, and I have used a piece of this in the past as a full background, and I really loved the way that that looked. Then we have this piece from Bella Boulevard that is a busy pattern shape, and I would be more likely to use this for layering or backing a cut file. And then there's this piece that is recent. It's from the Buenos Dias collection by Obed Marshall, and it has a nice little mix in the top, just sort of dropping down, showering down to the bottom. And this one is really, really fun. It's got a little bit of what I think is gold foil. Yep, some gold foil on it as well, which is really, really fun. I'm a big fan of acetate. It's great for shaker pockets with sequins especially. So let me show you a few layouts showing you how to use this beautiful acetate. In this case, I have used these acetate snowflakes in a color-coded fashion with the background. So I've got some silver leaves at the bottom down here with the blue, some teal with the teal, yellow with the yellow, kind of a coral with the coral, and pink with the pink. So that's a great way to just make them not stand out too much on your page by blending them in with colors already in the background. Just a little bit of fun. I also like the fact that they're not paper because they're kind of a plastic feel. I really enjoy them because I think it adds a bit of texture, adds a bit of fun that's not paper to your page. Now in this case, I've also got a piece of acetate up here as a little tab, and then I've added a puffy sticker on top of it. So there's a lot of different ways you can use acetate depending on what shape it's in. These are kind of ephemera pieces from the Hip Kit Club, and I've just tucked them in to my floral cluster and along the side of my photos as regular embellishments. On this page, I have these beautiful acetate stars and an acetate title up here that says Adventure. Now, something to keep in mind with acetate, like vellum, is difficult to adhere down without you seeing it. Quite often with vellum, I will either staple it or I will add tape where you can't see and let the rest of it stand up. With acetate, on the other hand, I find that glossy accents works quite well behind it. Here it is. So I put glossy accents in my fine liner bottle because otherwise it tends to clog on me and dry up, but in here it works just fine. But I use glossy accents behind my acetate, and that I find does not show nearly as much as tape or as other glues. So that is what I use, little tip there. But in here I've used a bunch of acetate stars across the back of my background. And these freckled fawn stars make me crazy. Does not matter how much glue you add, they will not sit down. Anyway, I have done a background of them on top of my banners. It's just a really fun bit of scattering, adds a diagonal element and flow to the layout, which is really fun, but it's a big part of the background and it adds a lot of flavor to an otherwise very simple page. I love that it's my title as well. I think it just adds a little bit of extra oomph to a page that would otherwise be very papery. So here is a layout using acetate in a wreath. So I've tucked some pieces of acetate back behind my wreath around my florals. These are nice little flourishes that catch your eye mostly because they're black against an otherwise fairly pastel color palette. And then I have some beautiful butterflies on here. These are just single layers of acetate, but because they're black, they stand out as well. And what this does is it adds a bit of contrast to the papery pastel colors already happening in the background and ties in the title, which is chipboard and black and white. So it doesn't have to be in your face that you have acetate on the page. If you're uncomfortable with it, you can always tuck it behind or keep it pretty subtle on a page as well. This next one is one of my favorites, and it is using these acetate numbers to create journaling prompts. So the title is 10 Reasons I Love You, and I've used these acetate numbers to denote each of the reasons, and then I have little journaling spot labels next to each of the numbers where I've written down what that prompt is. I really like this because these not only give a purpose to the title and the layout itself, but they're also fairly subtle and almost function like a background. The way that they just kind of sit nice and flat and just fill in their one little purpose. They're not flashy, they're not bright, they're just very metallic. So I've got some gold, I've got some black, I've got some silver, and they just work. They just work really well together. So this is another option, especially if you have those large acetate numbers and you're thinking, what am I gonna do with these? This is a great layout to do. Absolutely love this one. So this layout has some black acetate up here. It has some gold acetate here, here, and here. And it's really super subtle the way it's tucked back behind all of the paper layers, but it adds a little bit of something in addition to this mixed media that's kind of fun and a little bit clever. So it's plastic, and the mixed media is a texture paste, which has some dimension to it. And by putting some plastic and pairing this metallic plastic piece with the mixed media, I think gives the impression of really thick layering. We've got a base layer, we've got a secondary layer, and then we have the top layer up here. And I think that amount of layering between non-paper things and paper things, it just adds so much more interest to a page and really works on a layout like this. Now on this page, I have used a large piece of confetti acetate across the bottom. So it's literally creating my base layer here. And I absolutely love the way acetate looks backed with white cardstock because it's like creating your own pattern paper, essentially. That's what it feels like. And it's just such a fun way to include a non-paper element on the page. This one has some gold foiling to it as well, which I really like and helps tie in my title. And I just love how fun this looks. It doesn't take away from the background. It blends in beautifully because there's still white in the background on both, but it's a nice big element that, like I did with the vellum, softens the look of the bottom of the page while still making it interesting to look at. Here is the last example, and this one's a fairly recent one, and I've tucked in a couple of acetate flowers here behind my photos. And the reason I've done that is because I wanted to add something that wasn't stamping to my embellishing in the background, but keep it very simple at the same time. And acetate is beautiful because it is so subtle. Yes, you can see it on the page. Yes, it has bright colors even, but because it's so flat and it's not paper, it just sits so beautifully back behind photos, peeking out from behind clusters, and it's just a great layering piece to use, in my opinion. So let me know what you think about this one, guys. If you have any other suggestions for product play, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do to make it happen. I hope this was helpful, and until next time, bye guys!